It's easy to admire graceful big cats, mighty bears, powerful elephants, and mischievous raccoons from behind our computer screens. But how would you react if you met one of these wild animals face to face? Watch this compilation to the end. You don't want to miss out on any of these terrifying encounters. We begin our video with a little bit of persistent courtship from a potential suitor. This group of tourists was hiking in the Chippewa Ecological Park in Mexico whenever they were approached by a black bear. They didn't run, choosing instead to stay calm in hopes that the beast would leave. But he clearly took a liking to the girl, sniffing her and even grabbing at her leg. However, his beau had spurred his advances, opting instead for a selfie. It's always good to get out of the city and take in the sights, and the Sri Lanka Yala National Park Safari is an incredible way to do so. Untouched nature, wild jungles, and sand dunes. Just don't bother the locals. These tourists made a big mistake following the elephant. We continue our journey to another national park, this time in a state's park in Colorado. A picturesque river flows through the center of the mountain town, and wild animals roam the streets as freely as cats and dogs. Locals had better get used to it, but this man couldn't resist and had to start teasing the elk. Never provoke wild animals. But in Bangkok, Thailand, there's a serious turf war going on between reptiles and street vendors. In this clip, you can see a market guard trying to drive a huge monitor lizard away from the stalls. We'll take a quick trip to Oceania next. And as it turns out, even here on the mysterious and remote corner of paradise that is New Zealand, people and wild animals are fighting for territory. This group of surfers has been driven out of the water by sea lions at different beaches for nearly 2 weeks now. I guess these animals have finally decided to show them who's boss. The emu isn't an aggressive bird, but it can be provoked to attack. How exactly this man made this animal so angry is still unknown, but he clearly didn't enjoy having to run from those sharp claws.
You're gonna kick him.
Now off to Churchill, Canada, a city on the border of the Hudson Bay and a desolate tundra. This is the famous so-called world capital of polar bears. In the winter, the dangerous predators are off hunting seals. But in the summer, there's plenty of work for the city's bear police. These kinds of encounters no longer surprise the locals. Africa's next. The opinion that gorillas are dangerous to humans is quite widespread. Check out how terrifying this massive primate is when he's angry. In reality, however, gorillas are calm and peaceful animals. Even the endangered male refrains from an open attack, but his growl is a clear warning to leave his territory. What can you say about the bears in California? These troublemakers are not opposed to going shopping and panicking their neighbors. But as you can see here, this clerk turned out to be quite brave and tried to drive the beast out. The bears in West Hartford, Connecticut also feel at home in residential neighborhoods. Don't be surprised if your guests didn't stick around. They might have been scared off by a wild animal. Now on to the other hemisphere. What could be more terrible than powerful floods demolishing everything in their path? Only crocodiles coming to hunt in the floodwaters. About 300 of these toothy reptiles found their way into the Vishwami River in the streets of Vadoria in the western Indian state of Gujarat. Going to Old Mexico, you'll find that the crocs here are not so aggressive, but just imagine the dose of adrenaline these tourists vacationing in Tulman got whenever this curious reptile decided to check out their flappers. Back to the US of A, where we find out that deer aren't exactly as cute and cuddly as cartoons may depict them, and this 6-year-old kid is unlikely to want to watch Bambi after this encounter, nor will the waitress and diners at this restaurant in Livonia, Michigan. Bread and circus come to life. Let's go kayaking next on the Laguna River in Mozambique. Of course, this journey is only for particularly extreme individuals. After all, we all know how dangerous the waters of an African river are. This man was quite lucky that the young hippo just nudged his boat a bit. I wonder if this woman's husband could have ever imagined this outcome when he taught her to set a hook.
Oh, shit! Oh, Jesus Christ!
This guy here was hoping to catch a massive bull mai, but a hungry thief crept up unnoticed and took the avid fisherman's catch. That's one way to turn an ordinary kayak fishing trip into a real adventure. It's no secret that paparazzi aren't very well liked. After all, The profession is quite an invasion of privacy. Well, it turns out that birds don't like them any more than we do, and one can only guess what this turkey's life is like whenever it's hanging out on the highway instead of the forest. In the underwater kingdom, too, there are those who wish to keep their lives private. Just look at how much this huge octopus hates cameras. Likely he's more fed up with selfie-taking divers at this point. The worst thing, though, is when you're walking along calmly, minding your own business, and only to be attacked from behind. This monkey has no manners at all. Clearly, no one told it to respect its elders. As we all know, young people are constantly coming up with new ways to entertain themselves that may or may not end up hurting them. So what is this teenager up to? Oh, I guess the otter decided to teach him a little lesson. Karma at its finest. It's been a while since we've seen a few bears, but this guy from Yaroslav, Russia is not only seeing a bear, but had to end up fighting off the dangerous beast. Did you know that only fanged and clawed creatures can be dangerous? Well, check out this real beast. As penguins aren't so cute and funny now, are they? It is never worth disturbing even the sweetest looking wild animals. Unless, of course, doing that is your job. This man is no stranger to danger. He and his service dog find and rescue animals that are injured after road accidents or hunting encounters. And this time, his 5-year-old dog named Dolph had helped him to make it out in one piece. Let's return to the topic of journalism and travel to Greece. Judging by this pig's reaction, it loves the press and is eager for the limelight. Remember to always be respectful whenever you're in a wild animal's territory. These tourists, wanting to show off photos from this South African game park, had ended up driving the buffaloes off the road. Naturally, the ordinarily peace-loving animals were outraged and might have left a little dent in the Kia Sportage. Sometimes, wild animals can get angry for no reason at all. Thankfully, the girl's red jacket seemed to have an effect on this elephant, and they were able to flee the scene of the attack. Let's take our first trip over to Japan next. What do you suppose this boar had forgot at the train station in Fukatoga province? Somehow I doubt he was seeing his girlfriend off. It looks like the animal was as scared as the worker he barreled into. An incredible encounter in Ecuador is up next. There are legends about parent selfishness, but just look at how this calf kicks a cyclist over to protect its mother. Wild animals are especially dangerous during mating season. This wood grouse clearly had seen a rival in this snowmobile rider. Perhaps the bright suit had him confused. Want to feed the monkeys? Bring more food, or otherwise, these impudent little guys might just go for your hair. Women often ask their men to shave, but for a dog to drive a man into a barbershop? Jokes aside, this dog was clearly very aggressive, and everything could have gone differently if it hadn't been kicked out. From the previous story, we can see that some people try to avoid attacks by climbing. Would you stand still or jump on seats if a rat was running under your feet? Well, check out how one lost animal scared this whole car of passengers in the New York subway. But in Florida, people are already used to unwelcome guests. There are more than 1 million of these bloodthirsty alligators in the state, but in reality, they just don't want to hurt anybody. Sometimes, they just want a little soak in the pool. But when we're talking about an 11-foot alligator, the fun is over. And sometimes, you just might encounter these guests when you're out walking your dog. Some wild animals are so used to us that they don't mind checking out our campfires. Some might even try to take a little taste. And finally, a lighthearted moment to round out our compilation. It seems that this goose really wanted to find himself on the Christmas table.
My dog!
So, which one of these encounters with wild animals have you most scared? Share your stories in the comments below and hit that notification bell as well as the subscribe button. Until next time, folks, we'll see you guys later.